You were made to hear the voice of God. It's meant to be as natural to you as breathing. The issue is that most people have a false expectation of what it means or what it sounds like to hear His voice. And they expect this big, loud, booming voice that thunders down from heaven and thus saith the Lord. But in actual fact, most of the time God speaks with a tender and gentle whisper into the depths of our hearts. It's a beautiful thing, really. I have a friend and she would always say, I can't hear the voice of God. I can't hear the voice of God. And I would tell her, and we often spoke about this, that it's simple and it's natural, and this is how we hear the voice of God. And in this time in her life, when the story took place, she was just about to go into a business venture with one of her friends. And she wakes up one morning and she just has this feeling inside of her saying, or this voice inside of her rather saying, do not go into business with this lady. And she couldn't shake it the whole day. She then engages with that and she says, okay God, if this is you that's telling me this, please make this not happen. Let your will be done. And then a few moments later, the friend calls and says, hey, I just finished at the bank and they won't give me the money I need to buy into the business. And she's like, okay, that's not too good. And the friend was like, I'm gonna try this thing, I'm gonna try this thing. And my friend, she said, hey, okay, God, well, if it's like your will, let your will be done. And she tried, and over the next day or two, nothing would happen, nothing helped. And she couldn't get the money she needed. And she said, sorry, I can't go into business with you. And when she told me the story, I got so excited because she recognized and she acknowledged that she actually heard God's voice. I wonder how often do we miss hearing what God is trying to say to us because we have a false expectation on what He's trying to say. Hearing God's voice is natural. We were made to do it. And yes, sometimes we mishear the voice of God. Maybe because there's agendas in the way, maybe because we want our own desires to be outworked, or maybe we ignore it subconsciously. Sometimes we even just mishear, or we don't get the full picture because maybe we were too excited to jump into things, or we didn't unpack and sit with Him long enough for Him to expound on what He was saying. And when we encounter this, I want to tell us to not be discouraged. Don't allow discouragement to come into your heart and defile the purity and the joy of hearing Him. If we get it wrong, if we mishear it, it's okay. Just jump back on the horse and keep moving forward. Keep sitting with Him, keep desiring and pursuing to hear His voice. And the reality is that sometimes it just takes a bit of practice. And sometimes we'll go, okay, I think I've heard God, and we'll step out and it might not happen. And then we come back and we ask Him, Lord, why did I not hear? And then we allow Him to start teaching us so that we are able to discern now what is His voice and what is not His voice. Be intentional with engaging with what you hear Him saying. Ask Him to expound on things. Ask Him to reveal things to you so that you can get a fuller picture of what is saying, of what is doing, whether in your own life, in someone else's life, in your community. I promise you this, you were made to hear His voice, and it's meant to be natural. We don't need to strive. We don't need to manufacture something. We don't need to produce something or like try so hard that we bust a vein in our heads. But hey, just rest, relax. If you don't hear anything, that's okay. Just keep sitting. Just linger a little bit longer in His presence and just wait on Him. That's what it means to wait on the Lord. Wait on Him, rest in Him, be strengthened in Him. Hearing Him and knowing Him and walking with Him is the greatest joy that we will experience in this life and the next. Take joy, take courage. I hope this blessed you guys. I would love it if you could like, comment, and share and subscribe to this video. It would be really helpful. But God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.